Welcome to Pale Blue Pod, the astronomy podcast for people who are overwhelmed by the universe but still want to be its friend.
Yes, that's us, or me. I'm Corinne Caputo. I'm a writer, and I'm a friend to the universe, for sure.
For sure. So am I. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Moiya McTier. I'm an astrophysicist and a folklorist and a friend to both the universe and to Corinne.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. And because the universe is such a good friend, it gave us quite the show recently. Corinne and I both traveled to see the total solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024, but we were in different places. So Corinne, what was it like for you?
I drove up to Greenville, Maine, which is about like 2.5, 3 hours from where I am. And it was great. It was so cool. I don't know what I was expecting, but I was in the path to totality, which now I'm like, everyone who was talking about, you know, they saw 92% coverage, 95% coverage. I'm like, you didn't see shit.
Yes.
I'm really an eclipse
snob
now. I was going to say truther, but that's not right.
That's not right.
I'm a huge snob about it now. It was so cool. I immediately cried, which I did not expect to do at all, but it just felt so, I didn't feel scared, and like eerie is not the right word for it, or like uncanny, like none of the, I haven't found a word that is good for it yet, but it was just so cool and moving, and like probably as close to a religious experience as I've had yet or may have again. And there was something about like the community of it too. I was staying in Greenville for the night, and there were like all of the downtown like really filled up with people who were there to see it. And we walked around the town in the early afternoon, and it was just fun to see everyone here for the same thing. I really love, as I've talked about, like those kind of cultural moments where we're all doing the same thing, and it's over an activity that is completely like innocuous, or not even innocuous, but just like we're not taking sides. There's nothing like we're rooting for here. It's just to experience something. And it was great. And we went back to where we were staying to see the eclipse, which I really liked too, because I wasn't like around a ton of people. I was just with my husband and my in-laws, and we heard like the people cheering from the town.
Aww.
It was just so cool. And everyone says how cool it is. It got like cold. The birds like started flying home to their nests. It got dark, obviously. We saw Mercury right below.
Mercury, not Venus?
We saw two. There were two there.
Oh, nice.
Point is, nobody talks about there is a huge black hole in the sky. Like, they're like, I think that I didn't take photos of a total eclipse literally. Like, no, there is a huge black hole in the sky suddenly. Where there was once a sun is now a huge hole. Like, I guess nobody had said it in like words. Maybe there's no words that will completely articulate exactly what you will see. But I was just like, oh my God, there's a huge hole in the sky.
Yes. Oh. But you weren't around the big crowds of people.
No.
You were by yourself. Okay.
We were like, maybe we should watch it with everyone. That would be nice. And then we walked home to like have lunch. And then we're like, I'm not going back there. And I'm really glad, because I don't know. I can get very in my head about like being witnessed during like specific moments. And I really wanted that privacy, I think.
That makes sense. Because it is you didn't know that it would be a near religious experience, but I'm glad that you were able to experience that with like loved ones and not just randos.
And I'm so easily distracted too that I think had someone around me been even slightly annoying, it could have ruined things for me.
Yeah. Did you see the flares?
I did. That was crazy.
Yes. So this was my second eclipse, and the first time in 2017, the sun was at a magnetic activity minimum, or it was like near its minimum activity, but now it's closer to its maximum activity. And when the black hole appeared in the sky, and then there were these two little red dots on the side of the sun, everyone around me was like, Moiya, what's happening? Like, what are those? And I didn't know at first what it was. It took me a couple seconds, and then I said, like, I think it might be a flare.
Yeah.
But I didn't know until afterwards when I started seeing everyone like on X and Instagram talking about what they had seen.
Totally.
And that was really cool. Yeah, I was in Erie, PA. For some reason, there weren't a lot of people around. I think the
really?
Erie officials told all the Erie residents to stay home because for weeks they had been hearing from like Pennsylvania officials and other local governments along the path of totality to expect huge increases in traffic and everything. And so they said, Erie people, stay home. You don't want to get caught in the traffic. But then there was no traffic.
Okay, opposite experience for me.
Really? What was the weather like though?
Perfect.
There you go.
Warm. Like,
yes.
It was, there was still like some snow, mud on the ground because it had like, we had a huge storm like 2 days before the eclipse. But the day of, like, I took my jacket off, my winter coat off, and like had it tied around my waist.
Mm-hmm.
But we were expecting to drive back to Portland after the eclipse, but there was just standstill traffic outside of where we were staying for 5 hours. Those cars did not move because there's also like one road in and out, like for 40 miles. So we walked back to town and got dinner and then walked home and we're like, okay, I guess we'll leave at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work.
Wow. I'm glad I didn't have that, I guess. Because I wish we'd had more people. It was really, I was monitoring the weather in the week leading up to the eclipse. People who follow me on Instagram may have seen me posting like snap screenshots of my weather app being like, those clouds better get out of the way.
Yeah.
And on the morning of the eclipse, I woke up and it was raining and I was pissed.
Oh no, I would have been so sad.
I was so mad. It was raining. And then I go to the place where we're going to be watching the eclipse and I was going to be leading eclipse trivia. And it was still raining at like 1 p.m. The eclipse was going to start at 2 and then the peak totality was at like 3:15. And then the clouds, like we looked outside and we saw a patch of blue in the distance and we were like trying to figure out, okay, which way is the wind going? And then the clouds cleared literally right in time. But there were still some around, which meant when the eclipse happened during totality, I saw like a rainbow ring around because of the clouds.
I love it.
Which was really nice.
Yeah.
So there weren't a lot of people. I led trivia during the first partial eclipse, like as it was leading up to totality. There were maybe, I don't know, like 20 people standing on the streets of Erie, Pennsylvania with me. I was like trying to stop people as they were walking by.
Aww.
It was a Moiya on the streets moment with a microphone like, hey, would you like some free eclipse glasses? But everyone who passed had their own eclipse glasses. They were prepared. So I led trivia, and then I finished that well before totality started. So then because I was in Erie with a bunch of artists, I was there for an art installation that I helped create. I went on the roof of the like art space with a bunch of the artists, and we watched the eclipse, and I cried.
Yeah.
I warned people. I was like, I know I'm going to cry. And someone was like, why? Like, why would this move you to tears? And so I was like, well, first of all, it's the perfect like example of the cross between astrophysics and folklore. Like it's something that really epitomizes the combination of my interests. And like you said, Corinne, the community aspect of it is really touching. The idea of everyone stopping to look up at this event together when otherwise we would have been living completely different lives, doing completely different things at that moment. I never get to experience that type of widespread like camaraderie.
Yeah.
And that's quite moving. And also, it's just really pretty. Okay.
And also, how dare someone say that?
Why would you cry?
Ew.
So yes, I cried, and then all the artists, they were like hugging each other.
Aww.
And it was really sweet. And after the eclipse ended, we hung around. We continued to hang around on the roof for a little bit of partiality, and then we went downstairs. And from like 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., it actually went to more like 1 a.m. There was a big party. In the art space. There was a laser show. There was music. There was like a DJ set with some of the artists like DJing and then displaying their art behind them.
That's so cool.
I felt I don't know if I've ever felt older than I did in that moment.
This is happening to me too. And I am older than you. So,
but not by much.
But this is exactly happening to me too, where I enter a space and I'm like, oh my God, I am so old.
I used earplugs. I had to put in earplugs.
Moiya, I ordered earplugs for the next concert I go to. And I'm like, because now I'm like, won't it be amazing to be comfortable at this concert? And like, before it would have been like, that is so humiliating to do. No.
And now you have no shame.
Comfort
and
first.
Also, it's not shameful.
Yeah. Oh, not at all. But like, you couldn't have convinced my like 22-year-old self of that.
So all of the laser light shows that I was too old and too uncool to fully appreciate, in that same space, a few days before the eclipse, I actually did a live recording of Pale Blue Pod without you, unfortunately. Although you were there in spirit, I had a picture of you above me.
Perfect.
And listeners, that's what we're going to play for you now. So enjoy this live show that we did in Erie, that I did in Erie. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pale Blue Pod. This is the astronomy podcast for people who are overwhelmed by the universe but still want to be its friend. I am Dr. Moiya McTier. I'm an astrophysicist and a folklorist, and I am a friend to the universe. And I'm usually joined by a co-host who is also a friend to the universe. Her name is Corinne Caputo. She's a comedian. She's a writer. And you could just look at her face. She's so kind. She's so nice. She's so thoughtful. And she has amazing takes. We started this podcast together because I am a big old space nerd, and she is a little bit afraid of space. And together we wanted to make the universe feel more familiar to all of us who inhabit the universe. So Corinne is not here right now. She is in Maine because she's going to be watching the eclipse up there in the path of totality. Here, you can see the path going up from Mexico in the south up to Maine in the northeast. And Corinne's going to be about there, somewhere near the Maine coast in the path of totality, doing her own eclipse observations. And we're going to try to really crappily reproduce an ancient experiment that people did with a total solar eclipse. But she is not here physically, but she is here spiritually, as the podcast believes. So this is a show all about total solar eclipses. This is a show about the great North American total solar eclipse that's happening on April 8th of 2024. That's in just a couple of days, and I am recording this episode. I'm actually recording this episode in Erie, PA. I am at the Feed Media Arts Center in Erie, PA, the home of the Eclipsing Stars exhibit, and it's a really cool art space. Anyone who can come to Erie until Memorial Day weekend, you should totally check out Feed, and you should check out the Eclipsing Stars exhibit, because that's how long it'll be up. But today we're talking about eclipses. I want to make sure all of you know how eclipses work before you see the eclipse on Monday. So solar eclipses happen when the moon is between the Earth and the sun. And a lunar eclipse happens when the opposite is true, when the Earth is between the sun and the moon. But we're not getting a lunar eclipse this week, so let's not talk about those. Let's forget about those. This is a solar eclipse week. So the moon is between the Earth and the sun. And this happens about every year and a half. How many people feel like solar eclipses are super rare here? You can raise your hand, give a little shout out. Okay, people are hesitant. Maybe that's because I just told you they happen every year and a half. That's my bad. So yeah, they do, but people think they're really rare because the Earth is really big. Most of the Earth is covered in ocean, and that's where most of the paths of totality pass over. But we here in North America are lucky enough to be getting our second total solar eclipse in 7 years. Usually it takes a lot longer than that for an eclipse to come back to the same geographical region. They happen once every 18 months. And they move all over the world, and they happen because of something called angular size. I know that we've talked about this on Pale Blue Pod before, the magic of angular size. But I want to put it out in numbers here. So the moon and the sun, obviously very different sizes. I'm pretty sure we've talked about that on the pod before. And for those of you here in the live audience, I think you know that the moon and the sun, very different sizes. Just a quick shout out. Which is bigger, the moon or the sun? The sun, yes. For the listeners, the audience, they all were very aware that the sun is bigger. But it actually turns out to be the perfect number bigger. Like the ratio in their sizes and distances just happens to be the same. So the moon here is about a quarter the size of Earth. It has a diameter of about 2,000 miles, and it's about 250,000 miles away from us. It orbits the Earth every month, every 28 days, roughly. The sun is much bigger. It has a diameter of almost 1 million miles across, almost 900,000 miles across, and it is 93 million miles away, so almost 100 million miles away. And if you do the math between all of those sizes and all of those distances, you'll see that the sun is about 400 times bigger than the moon, but it's also about 400 times farther away from us than the moon is. And when you do out that math, it means that the sun and the moon look like they are the same size in the sky. And that size is about half a degree. So if you take your thumb, if you take your hand and you hold it out at arm's length and you stick your thumb up, the moon and the sun should both take up like half a nail. Or your whole nail. I don't know how big your nails are. I don't know if you have long nails. I don't know you like that. But it should be about the size of your nail when you hold your arm out. And that's nice because it works for everyone's body size, because if you have bigger hands, then you probably also have longer arms. So the angle works out there. And this is the magic of angular size. And this is amazing. This is an amazing coincidence because we won't always have eclipses, and we haven't always had the same types of eclipses. The moon is moving away from the Earth. It moves. Does anyone know how fast it moves? Like, how far is it moving every year? Yeah.
2 inches?
Yeah, about 2 inches. Yeah, like 1.5 inches every single year. And over time, like in a year, that's not making much of a difference. But over time, in like 500 million years, the moon will be far enough away that this magic of angular size, this angular size spell won't work in like 500 million years. So the moon will look too small to cover the whole face of the sun. And we will have partial eclipses. We'll have annular eclipses, or ring of fire eclipses, as they're sometimes called, but we will no longer have total solar eclipses. So let's enjoy them now while we have them. Any questions about that before I move on? Like I said, I want this to be kind of back and forth. Because you're taking the place of Corinne here, right? Usually it's Corinne who can ask me a question if I have explained something poorly. So if I explain something poorly, it is your responsibility to tell me by asking me a question. Okay. A lot of people, when I'm talking to them about eclipses, they get confused that they don't happen every month. Because even if they understand that eclipses, solar eclipses, are caused by the moon blocking the face of the sun, they don't understand why that doesn't happen every time the moon goes around the Earth. So just a quick fact here, solar eclipses only happen when the moon is in a particular phase. It has to be in the new moon phase for a total solar eclipse to happen, because a new moon happens when the moon is between us and the sun, and we actually can't see the face of the moon because it's being illuminated on the far side by the sun. So there's no dark side of the moon, but there's a far side of the moon, and during a new moon, it's that far side that is illuminated, so we can't see it. And the new moon does happen every month, but a solar eclipse doesn't. And that's because of the orientation of all of these different orbits. Things don't orbit in a straight line all the time. They don't orbit in the same plane. They're tilted with respect to each other. So I want to go through and show you how all of these different orbits at play are tilted with respect to each other. Starting at the bigger scale, at the solar system scale, how is that oriented towards the rest of the Milky Way? Well, I have here a fun little illustration. I know that this is a podcast and it's an audio medium, so I'll describe it for people who aren't in the audience. But I have here an illustration from my book, The Milky Way. So it's illustrated by Anna Marie Salai, one of my oldest friends. We've been friends since 3rd grade. And it shows you how the solar system, the sun and all of the planets, are tilted with respect to the plane of the Milky Way. So if you imagine that the Milky Way galaxy is kind of like a pancake, it's a flat disk, and the sun and other stars, we are like chocolate chips or blueberries in the pancake. There is technically some depth, there is technically some puffiness, but we think of the Milky Way as a more or less flat disk with this midplane. And the solar system isn't lying flat in that galactic midplane. It's tilted. So it's tilted by about 60 degrees from straight up and down. So as the solar system moves through the galaxy, it's not like the sun and all of the planets are in one flat plane and they're moving around the galaxy. It's almost like they're standing up and they're moving through the galaxy as at that tilt. Does that make sense? It probably makes a lot more sense with the picture in front of you. Great. So people who are just listening to the podcast, I'm sorry. Get yourself a picture. But yeah, the solar system is at about a 60-degree tilt compared to the flat plane of the galaxy. And then our planet has its own tilt thrown in there because space does not like to make things easy for us. The universe doesn't owe us simplicity. So that's the solar system. Let's move on to Earth. We know that the Earth goes around the sun. We know that now. They did not know that in like the 1500s. But we now know that we live in a heliocentric system. The Earth and the other planets, they go around the sun, and none of the orbits are perfectly circular. We have a mostly circular orbit for Earth, but it's a little bit of an oval. But most importantly, we are quite tilted as an Earth. We have a tilt of, does anyone in the audience know how many degrees is our Earth tilted off axis? No. That's fine. It's 23. Michael Jordan fans might remember that. Fans of Avogadro's number and the chemical mole, they might also really remember it that way. But yeah, I remember that it's like 23.5 degrees tilted from the vertical. And that is what gives us our seasons. As the Earth goes around the sun, not the other way around, it's the tilt of the Earth that gives us our seasons. So no matter what hemisphere you're on, north or south, if your hemisphere is tilted towards the sun at that particular time, it's your summer. Right now, I'm in the northern hemisphere. It's springtime, but we're heading into summer, which means we're heading into the part of the year where the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. And on the other side of the year, about 6 months later, when you're tilted away from the sun, that's your winter. But a lot of people think that this is due to that non-circular orbit. They think that winter means you're further away from the sun and summer means you're closer. No. Actually, when it's summer in the northern hemisphere and our planet is tilted towards the sun, that is when we're furthest away from the sun. Interestingly. So it has the seasons, remember, they have nothing to do with distance from the sun and everything to do with the tilt of the Earth. But this tilt is always facing in the same direction. It doesn't, it does wobble a little bit. We call this precession, and that is why the North Star changes every 26,000 years. But on our lifetime scales, like on the scales of time that we really care about, the axis of the Earth is always pointing in the same direction, and it's pointing towards Polaris. Corinne, during the live show, tried to explain how eclipses work and why we don't get eclipses every single month, and I was not satisfied with my explanation. I feel like I'm better at explaining things when you're with me, and
Love it.
You can make it obvious when I'm not explaining something well. So I'm going to try and re-explain it to you. And I did have visual aids during the live show. I do not have them now, and I think I relied too heavily on the visual aids for an audio medium. So let's readjust.
Let's do it.
So we know that the Earth orbits the sun and the moon orbits the Earth, and that solar eclipses happen when the moon is between the Earth and the sun. But why don't we get a solar eclipse every time there's a new moon, when the moon is between the Earth and the sun?
Yeah.
Well, that is because the orbit of the moon is not in line with the orbit of the Earth around the sun. It's offset from that orbit by about 5 degrees.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And that the plane of the moon's orbit always faces in the same direction as it and the Earth are going around the sun. So sometimes during the year, the moon's orbit is like facing the sun, and sometimes it's facing away, and sometimes it's parallel to the sun. Okay. Right? If the tilt is always facing in the same way, kind of similar to Earth's tilt as it goes around the sun. Sometimes we're tilted towards the sun, and then during spring and fall, we're not tilted towards or away. We're tilted like parallel to the sun.
Okay.
At those 2 times of the year when the moon's plane is parallel to the sun, those are the 2 times a year when you can get an eclipse. And that is because those are the only times of the year when the moon isn't above the Earth or below the Earth in its orbit, but it is actually in the same plane as the Earth and the sun.
Oh, cool. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that happens at something called lunar nodes. So over the course of its orbit, because the moon's orbit is tilted, sometimes it's above the Earth and sometimes it's below the Earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be a time when it crosses from above to below, or the other way around.
Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Where it crosses, that's called a node. And only when the moon is at one of its nodes can you get an eclipse.
A lot of rules for this.
A lot of rules. But
lucky
that's
are we?
I think we're very lucky that we get to see eclipses. That is not a guarantee. But the moon has to be at the nodes because that's the only time it's not above or below the Earth. So a shadow cast by the moon would hit the Earth instead of going above or below it.
Cool.
Okay. I think that was a better explanation than what I did during the live show.
I'm sure you did great.
Was it clear?
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Score.
And that's good to know.
Yes, I see a question.
Not a question, but more of a noticing something, I guess. Have you ever played the game Kerbal Space Program?
I've been asked if I've ever played the game Kerbal Space Program. No, I haven't.
So it's a game about the solar system. It's basically a mini solar system. And you're your own, space agency. Cool. You're like NASA.
Nice.
And ascending and descending nodes are how you get to other planets.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah, the word node is used in a lot of different places in science, especially space science, because it just tells you a particularly interesting point in orbit.
Yep.
Yeah, great. Any other questions about the orientation of all of these orbits before I move on? Because I think that's the trickiest thing to get to understand about eclipses.
I'm so confused. How did they figure all this out?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm going to get to that in a second, but it took thousands of years of observation, of observing the motion of the moon around the Earth and observing how the sun looks different at different parts of the year. And by putting all of those together over thousands of years, they figured it out. Yeah, but it one single person could not have figured this out alone. And I thank you for asking, because that, I think, really illustrates how collaborative science is. You cannot do science alone, not good science anyway. You have to have other people working with you. You have to have knowledge that previous people have contributed. And so eclipse science really is a massive intergenerational collaborative effort. Now that we know how eclipses work in general, I want to talk a bit about this particular eclipse, this great North American eclipse that we have. It's happening on April 8th, 2024, and it's going to start down in Mexico, and the path of totality will pass northeast and end in Maine in the United States. And I saw this picture, and I got confused because the path of totality goes from west to east. But the sun goes from east to west, and the moon also orbits in the same direction as the Earth. So has anyone else been confused by this? Has anyone pondered this question? Why does the path of totality go from west to east? You are now. Excellent. Because it took me a little bit to figure this out. And I started wondering if all eclipse paths go from west to east. Yes, they do. Even the one in 2017 went from west to east. And that has to do with the relative speeds of the moon moving around Earth and the Earth rotating. So the moon does go around the Earth, if you're staring from the top down, in a counterclockwise direction. And the Earth goes around the sun also in a counterclockwise direction. And the Earth rotates in a counterclockwise direction. And that's why the sun appears to go from east to west, because we're rotating in that clockwise direction. And as we rotate, the sun appears in the east first, and then we rotate and it moves to the west. But the moon is going around us so much faster than the Earth is rotating. Because the moon goes around the Earth every month, it's moving at about 2,300 miles per hour. The Earth is only spinning at about 1,000 miles per hour. So when we're talking about the path of totality moving, we're more concerned with the speed of the moon than with the rotation of the Earth. So we don't have to take into account the Earth's rotation. We just have to look at the moon's motion. And the moon, because it's going counterclockwise around us, the moon does appear to move, or like the moon's path does appear to move from the west to the east. And that is why the eclipse path moves in that direction. And it took me longer than it should have to figure out that it had more to do with the relative speeds of these two bodies than with the direction that they were actually moving in. And that's why totality, it doesn't last that long, because the moon is moving so fast that it only takes it a few minutes to pass in front of the face of the sun. And you can get a range of eclipse durations. The shortest in history was something like a couple seconds. The longest in history was something like 7.5 minutes. But I think the longest hypothetically that you could get in the most extreme condition is something like about 10 minutes of totality. So they really are quite short events when you think about it. And this eclipse is really exciting because it's passing through a lot of populated areas. So down in Texas, it's passing through Austin and Houston. It's passing through Erie. It's passing through some cities in Maine. So it's passing through actual cities, unlike the 2017 eclipse, which passed through Nashville, but most of the other places along the path of totality were less populated. So more than 30 million people live in the path of this eclipse's totality, which is really exciting. Throughout history, people have learned about eclipses over time. They've done experiments with eclipses to teach us even more. So we learned about the element helium thanks to an eclipse because someone studied the energy coming off of the sun during an eclipse to see this new periodic element. We learned that the Earth was round by looking at lunar eclipses. We've been able to confirm Einstein's theories of relativity by looking at eclipses. And this dude, this ancient Greek philosopher and scientist named Hipparchus, was able to estimate the distance between the Earth and the moon by using a total solar eclipse. This is an experiment that was done in the 1st or 2nd century before the Common Era. And it was an eclipse that was going to be a total solar eclipse over Hellespont, this town in ancient Greece. It was not going to be a total solar eclipse in Alexandria in Egypt, which is almost immediately south of Hellespont. So Hipparchus, who was already really interested in tracking the motion of stuff in the sky, he gave us one of the first star maps and star catalogs with actual positions for the stars. He was already really interested in looking up at the sky. And he knew, by then they could predict eclipses. And so he knew that there was going to be a total solar eclipse in Hellespont at a time. And he knew that it wouldn't be a total eclipse in Alexandria. So he was able to collect information, collect observations from other people in Alexandria who told him that it wasn't a total eclipse, but that it looked like there was about only 4/5 of the sun being covered by the moon. And knowing that, like knowing the difference between what Alexandria saw and what Hellespont saw in the eclipse, and knowing the distance between these two cities, he was able to calculate the distance between the Earth and the moon. And Corinne and I are going to try and recreate this experiment, but it's not going to work for several reasons. Because science is messy and not all your experiments are going to work. First and foremost, this experiment works best when the two cities are directly north and south of each other. I am in Erie, Corinne is in Maine, and so she'll be more like northeast of me. Also, I don't want Corinne to have to really accurately measure the fraction of the sun that's being covered. And so she's going to be in the path of totality anyway, so the fraction is 100%. Like, we're not doing this experiment well. But we're going to collect all the data we can about the duration of the eclipse in these different places and see what science we can do with it. And I encourage other people to do the same. Just like collect information and see what you can glean from it in your own mind. I did say during the eclipse that we were going to try to recreate some old experiments, but I also said that the conditions of those experiments weren't possible here. So we wouldn't be recreating it very faithfully. And instead, I figured we could take some measurements around the eclipse and just figure out what we could learn from them. So I timed the duration of the eclipse for me and like when it started. And you did the same, right? Okay, cool. one thing that I was thinking was that if we know when when totality starts for both of us, because we were separate from each other, if we know when totality starts and we know how far away we are from each other, then we'd be able to calculate how fast the eclipse shadow moved.
Yes.
So for me in Erie, the eclipse started at 3:16.
And for me, it was 3:28.
Okay, so 12 minutes. And if I'm in Erie and you're in Greenville, that's like 550 miles.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a hard time calculating exactly, but yeah, I think that's good for this.
We're hand waving here. We're doing like back of the envelope calculations. So roughly 550-ish miles in roughly 12-ish minutes, which calculates to 2,750 miles per hour.
Fast. Okay.
That is fast, but it is within acceptable limits. There's a range of how fast the shadow appears to move, or not appears to, how fast it does move. That depends on where you are on the Earth, like your latitude. At the equator, it's going to appear that the eclipse moves slower than at the poles, because at the equator, you're also moving quite quickly, and at the poles, you aren't moving as quick in the rotation of the Earth. So the eclipse shadow moves at about 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, but like 5,000 miles per hour at the poles. And since we were, about halfway between the equator and the North Pole, I think 2,700 miles per hour is a pretty good measurement.
That tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. Go us. We did some science. And then I was wondering if the duration of totality for each of us could tell us anything, and it can, but I think there's like more complicated math involved than I'm really willing to do right now. And honestly, I think that any values that we could calculate would be smaller than our measurement error bars. But I did look up the duration for like different parts of the path of totality. So for me in Erie, I timed it. It was like 3 minutes and 40-ish seconds.
I was like 3:20 maybe.
Okay, that makes sense. Down in Austin, it was closer to 4.5 minutes.
Wow, I'm jealous. I felt like it went so fast.
It did, yeah. Those 3 minutes and change, that was not long enough. Everyone around me released like an audible "oh" when it ended.
Oh my God, when it went back to partial, I was like, I don't care about this.
Literally, everyone went inside. They were like, okay, we're done.
Yeah. And I was like, however, just before totality, I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, was that the sun was partially eclipsed.
It's amazing how quickly we adapt to new pleasures,
how quickly I'll drop something.
So I thought that we'd be able to maybe like calculate the difference in our latitudes based on the difference between our totality durations.
Yeah.
But there's a reason I left academia. That felt too much like doing a homework problem. So,
I totally get it.
Yeah. But I did try and figure out why in the South you get longer totality than in the North. And I believe it has to do with the rates of rotation at these different locations. So the Earth rotates more quickly at the equator because you're going 24,000 miles in 24 hours. But at the pole, you're going much less, like 1,000 miles in 24 hours. So you're moving more slowly, which is hard, I think, for a lot of people to comprehend, that different places on Earth rotate at different speeds.
Yes, that is hard for me to comprehend, but I trust you.
Math is tricky. Yes. It's counterintuitive, but I promise it's true. And so because the Earth moves more quickly at the equator, it's better able to keep up with the moon as the moon is orbiting the Earth. The moon orbits the Earth at something like 2,300. I said it during the live show. But because the Earth at the equator can keep up with the moon as it's moving, it essentially keeps the total eclipse in view longer.
Okay, cool.
And that is all the science that I think we could have done based on just like the timing of things.
Cool.
Yay, we did it.
We did it.
But I like this as an example because it happened during a time. This experiment happened during a time when there was still a lot of mythological beliefs about how eclipses work and what caused them. And so I have a little game for you looking at the different myths that people have told about eclipses throughout history. I'm going to tell you the two gods or goddesses, the two deities that are involved. We all know that it's the sun and the moon involved in solar eclipses. So I'll tell you about a sun god and a moon god from a different culture. And I want you to tell me if they're siblings or dating. Or, because it's mythology, where a lot of siblings get married, you can also tell me if they are both siblings and dating, or if they're neither. So we're going to play a fun game here today called Siblings Are Dating, or Neither or Both. And I'm going to be joined by the curator of the Eclipsing Stars exhibit, Liz Slagus. Hi, Liz.
Hey, Moiya.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Great. Can you?
Happy to have you here in Erie.
Same. I'm happy to be here. Can you say a bit about how you put together this collaboration and what your role was?
Yes, I like to play matchmaker between artists and scientists.
And you do a great job of it.
I've been doing artist-scientist collaborations for about 10 years. I started at New York Hall of Science in Queens. And then the opportunity for this eclipse was presented to us from the Simons Foundation. They went along the path of totality and invited different arts organizations to apply for funding to put artists and scientists together to do projects that would illuminate the eclipse. I know, I didn't even intend to. And just really bring awareness through, a different way of communicating science. So we applied, we selected to work with Alex Lonshav-Staley, who's right here in front of me, who has been working with FEED for a while. And then I was charged with finding a scientist. And Moiya and I had worked together once before in New York. I loved working with Moiya. Moiya is one of the best communicators, just period, that I know. Happens to be about science. But of course, her other background besides astronomy is folklore and storytelling. And we knew that this project was going to be a narrative piece. And both Moiya and Sav really, consider themselves storytellers, world builders, actually. And so I thought that was a natural match. And they sort of got along like a house on fire, so there was a bonus there.
You're really great at your job.
Thank you. I'm the art science yenta.
How great do you think you are at determining the relationship status of old mythological deities?
Ooh. Well, let's give it a go.
Let's give it a go.
Yeah, let's give it a go.
You can get help from the audience. I think maybe you'll need that. This isn't a test. There's no passing or failing. We're just gonna see how many we collectively can get right here.
Yes, I asked Moiya not to make me look or feel too stupid during this. Okay.
Could never. We're going to start off with a mythos that more people are familiar with. This is Helios and Selene from Greek mythology. Liz, do you think these are siblings or dating or neither or both?
Let's say dating. Dating's like a fun...
Okay.
Yeah, let's say dating.
Crowd, do you agree? Yeah. The crowd is stumped. So I'm always going to put the sun deity first and then the moon deity second. So this is Helios and Selene from Greek mythology. I have here a little Greek family tree. They are indeed siblings.
Okay.
Just siblings. Helios and Selene are two titans from Greek mythology. They are the grandchildren of Gaia and Ouranos, who are respectively the personifications of the earth and the sky. You know it. There you go. Okay. Siblings.
Okay.
This is Lisa, the sun god, and Mawu, the moon goddess, from Fawn or Dahomey mythology. This is an African, West African culture.
Siblings dating.
Or neither. Or both. Oh.
I was going to say both.
Okay, the crowd is giving strong sibling vibes. Liz is saying both.
I'm sticking with both.
Sticking with both. Great job. They are indeed both. These are, in some stories, Mawu and Lisa are twins. They are sacred twins born to Nanabaluku, who's a creator god in Fawn mythology. And they really help Earth, the humans on Earth, learn how to farm and grow things. And then we are so disrespectful to Mawu that she goes up, she abandons Earth, and she lives in the moon. And then her brother / husband, Lisa, after teaching humans the rest of agriculture, goes up to be the sun. And in this culture, eclipses, they know that eclipses happen when the moon and the sun are getting together, kind of. And so they see it as a cause to celebrate, because it's like Mawu and Lisa are having a reunion. And the first time this happened, they gave humanity seeds to plant. And so maybe in future solar eclipses, they will give us seeds again. So it's a cause to celebrate. But they are both siblings and spouses, more serious than dating. Number 3, we have Ra and Khonsu from Egyptian mythology. Yes, and I have a little image here showing Ra sitting down, and then that's Mut in the middle, a lion-headed goddess that is often one of the consorts of Ra. And then all the way to the left is Khonsu, the god of the moon. What do you think?
Let's go with both.
We're going both, and the answer is neither. They are father and son. Ra, the sun god, is the father of Khonsu, the moon god. So these are both male deities, which is kind of rare in mythology. Usually you have one, like the moon is feminine and the sun is masculine, or vice versa. It really flips throughout mythology. But it's Ra, the father, and then Khonsu, the son. Not dating.
Okay.
Not dating.
Okay.
Because they could have been, but they're not, according to most myths.
Mythology is a little funky.
Mythology has a lot going on. Yeah. Number 4.
We would not have judged them, just by the way.
It's a different time, different values, different scientific knowledge. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, they're goddesses, so they don't have to deal with genetics like we do. Number 4, this is Finnish folklore. We have, and I know I'm going to say this wrong, Päivätär, who is the sun goddess, and Kuutar, who is the moon goddess. Siblings? Okay, we have one person in the audience saying siblings. It really is always a toss-up, isn't it?
I know. I'm going to go with siblings. Let's go.
We're going with siblings. Okay.
Yeah, we have another sibling.
So this is an interesting pair, because I looked for some stories, and in some versions of their myths, they are sisters. Sisters who are both the children of the sky god, whose name I think is Uku. And in other stories, they're just best gal pals. And we all know what that means. So they could be both. And the thing about mythology is that there are different versions of every myth. So who knows?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, but we weren't wrong.
No, we weren't wrong.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, this is the Schrodinger's siblings are dating, where they are both and neither at the same time. There's this fun story from Finnish mythology, because Finland is far in the north, and they have these really long winters without much access to the sun. They have a story about where does the sun go during the winter, and they have a winter witch in their mythology who kidnaps the sun and the moon, because they can't be too far from each other, because they're just best friends, and kidnaps both the sun and the moon and puts them in a cave for several months until the sky god can go and rescue them and bring them back. And I love that myth. Okay, number 5, we have from Japanese Shinto mythology, Amaterasu, who is the goddess of the sun, and Tsukuyomi, who is the god of the moon. We have one vote for dating and another vote for siblings. Well, you could combine and say both.
Let's go both. Let's go both.
It's both. Yes. They are siblings because they were both said to be created from the eyes of Izanagi, one of the creator gods or spirits, as he washes his eyes in the stream. So I can't remember which comes out of the right eye. I think it's Amaterasu, and then Tsukuyomi is the left eye, but I could be mixing them up. And then later on, they are married, but I think they have a falling out and are in later myths not married anymore. extra intrigue. But they have this really cool story about the sun disappearing. Amaterasu goes and secludes herself in a cave, and all of the spirits, all the other kami, as they're called in Shinto religion, they try everything they can to get Amaterasu to come out of her cave, and eventually it's just a bunch of them laughing that goads her out because she has FOMO. She wants to see what's going on. Number 6, we have from Baltic folklore, Saule and Menuo. And I have a picture here of Saule, the sun goddess, and Menuo, the moon god. Saule is one of the many sun deities who rides across the sky in a chariot. And her chariot is pulled by 2 horses who never sweat. I love that.
I know, this is very fierce. I'm going to say neither.
Neither. Okay. Crowd, how do we feel about that? There's some quiet consensus for neither, but they are indeed dating. They are spouses. Saule and Menuo are married, although Menuo is not faithful. Together, they have children. Their children are the planets in the solar system. And Menuo cheats on Saule with their daughter Venus, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
Number 7, we have...
Should have been in neither. Let's say that. Yeah,
you're right. I just want the best for Saule. I want her to ride off on her chariot with her sweatless horses to her orchard at the end of the ocean, where she grows apples and takes care of orphans.
We're not going to worry about her.
That's her job. Like, that's her life, and it sounds lovely. For 7, we have from Norse mythology, Sol and Mani. Are they siblings or dating or neither or both? Siblings. Strong agreement. Strong agreement, and it's right. Good job, friends. Yes, they are siblings. They don't personify the sun and the moon in Norse mythology, but they are kind of like the caretakers of the sun and the moon. They may have been created by this giant named Mundalfari, who was in charge of turning the heavens, but in Norse mythology it was Odin who made the sun and the moon, and then he just kind of designated other people to take care of them. We have from Sumerian mythology for number 8, Utu, the sun god, and Nana, also a god of the moon.
I was going to say, it kind of sounds like a fun couple.
A fun couple. Yeah, Utu and Nana. I just want to go and have dinner at their place, play a game night.
I'm going to go with that.
Dating. They are neither. Okay. Much like Ra and Khonsu, they are father and son, but this way it's flipped, where Nana, the moon god, is said to be the father, said to be older than Utu, the sun god. It doesn't matter how many you got right, because now we all know the answers anyway.
Thank
you. Really, the biggest takeaway from this is that mythology was weird. And relationships in mythology were especially weird. But thank you all for your help. And thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Let's give Liz a round of applause. Hey there, it's Dr. Moiya. Corinne is still reeling from the eclipse, so I wanted to take this opportunity to say a huge thank you to our patrons who support the show every single month. Thank you especially to our sun-like stars, Lissa, Scott Reynolds, Ian O'Leary, Augustin, and Tom T. You are golden. You are perfectly gravitational. You are amazing. And anyone who wants to join this amazing club can do that. They can hear their name on the show, and they can make it to our patron star chart, all by supporting us on Patreon for just about $1 per episode. And we are even offering annual memberships where you get a 13% discount across an entire year if you pay up front. You can find our star chart and our Patreon info and more at our website, palebluepod.com, or you can go right to patreon.com/palebluepod if you already know you want to support us financially. And if that's not a possibility for you, that is totally fine. We love you. You are still very much a part of space, and there are other ways to support us and help us grow. You can review the show on whatever app you use. I absolutely love reading any reviews you leave. And I know I say this every episode, but the best way to help us grow, honestly, is to share the show with your friends. Like physically copy a link and text it or email it or whatever to someone who you think would enjoy that episode. And we will appreciate you forever. Thank you so much. All right. I first want to correct something I said earlier in the episode about those red dots that I saw during totality. I called them solar flares when I was talking to Corinne at the beginning of this episode, but they are solar prominences. For most purposes, the distinction is pointless. Like, really, who the fuck cares, right? But technically, a solar flare is a release of energy that travels through space away from the sun, and a solar prominence is a loop that always stays touching the sun. Those loops maintained contact with the solar body, so they were prominences if you care about that type of thing. But now that semantics are out of the way, I want to recommend another podcast to you in the Multitude Collective. It's Big Game Hunger. This is a weekly comedy show where Jenna Stieber and friends craft the next big video game every episode. They start with a randomly generated genre, concept, and vibe, and then Jenna and a variety of funny and game-obsessed guests are going to take these randomly generated ideas far enough that they can pitch it to a shadowy board of rich investors, our favorite. By the end of the episode, they will have honed an IP so irresistible that you are going to be willing to risk $25 for it on Steam, but unfortunately, they will never actually make their release date. So listen to the show, fall in love with these games, and then ultimately be disappointed when you will never play them. But have a good time listening. New episodes of Big Game Hunger come out every Monday. Check them out wherever you get your podcasts. Okay, let's get back to this really exciting live recording of Pale Blue Pod. I love myths. There's just so many weird stories in there, but we are going to move on to talk about some myths that are being created today. Did you know myths are still being created today? It's very true. We have heroes, we have villains, we have all the archetypes of mythology in our modern zeitgeist. But I want to talk about an actual fictional mythology that I created with a collaborator for the Eclipsing Stars exhibit. And to do that, I'm going to call up my collaborator, Alex Lone Sav Staley. If you want to come up, let's give Sav, as I know him, let's give Sav a round of applause. So Sav is an artist, a very talented artist, and a storyteller and a world builder. And for the last year and change, we have been collaborating on this project called Eclipsing Stars. And I want the audience to learn more about you, Sav. So can you describe your art style for us?
Sure.
Yeah.
The art style that we did for this show is actually a little different than what I usually do. My main medium, I guess, right now is visual stuff, like what you see, but usually I do like abstract visuals, just like colors and shapes and my little characters and stuff. I mean, I dabble in like other art forms, like painting and stuff like that. It's all very like abstract. This is actually like one of my first like more linear stylized pieces for real.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's very cool. How was that jump for you to go from more abstract projects to something that's more concrete, maybe?
Oh yeah, no, it was really cool. Usually I'm just like creating stuff out of a chaos for the sake of doing it, but like to have like a purpose with this one and kind of like attack it with like a reason behind it was like really fun to do and stuff. And I got to see like how like my abstract brain switches and stuff. So like instead of like doing it in the visuals themselves, it kind of came to like an abstract way of like setting up the show and stuff and kind of being like loose around it's like less about being abstract and more about being like loose around the edges and like giving myself like a little bit of break and space while I create, you know.
Yeah, it's really like you found the places in this collaboration, in this project, where you could have the flexibility that you're used to with your other projects.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Do you want to tell us about some of your other projects that you've worked on? You can brag about your past work a little bit.
Sure. The first thing I did here at Feed was it was called Lone Radio 1, where I made a bunch of music, gathered some music as well, and I made I think like an hour worth of 3D rendered abstract stuff, and we put it on TVs, we projected it on the walls, we put TVs on the floor, and we had it in Feed's garage area. There's an official name for it that I can't think of right now. The Sandbox. It's in Feed Sandbox. And I was really proud of that one because I like galleries like the Mattress Factory and like other places like that where it's like a otherworldly experience and stuff. And so that was my first time doing a show myself that it kind of lended itself like to that kind of feeling and stuff. There were no lights in there. Everything was illuminated by the TVs that were on. The sound and the visuals all kind of like blended together really well. So like that's a big thing that I'm proud of.
I wish I could have seen that. What was your reaction when you heard you were going to be working with an astrophysicist on an art project?
There are so many things I just send it. Like I'm just like whatever. Like, I'm like, it's like I was nervous at first. I was like, this person's gonna be so much smarter than me. I'm gonna be stupid. I gotta like start looking stuff up or whatever, start reading or something. But also I was like, wow, I've never done this before, so I guess we'll go try it and just see how it goes. And then luckily, we went to a retreat with the Science Foundation, and it was a cohort of all of the artists, curators, and scientists and stuff. So we got to meet everybody and see everybody, and they were all wonderful people. They're all very nice and stuff. But also, I told myself, I was like, Moiya is like the most regular person here. Like, I like otherwise
Thank
wouldn't
you.
know. Yeah.
No, I take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Oh, but for Liz, yeah.
Oh, I meant like for scientists and stuff, whatever. I was like, I almost forgot you were a scientist because you're so like chill and stuff.
Wow,
It's
thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah.
I might put that on like my tombstone or something because that's a great compliment.
Regular person.
Here lies Moiya McTier. She was a regular person. Yeah, that sounds sick. I want to move to like how it was to actually work on this project together. You came in with some things that you definitely wanted to have included in the art piece. Can you tell us what some of those things were?
It's been like a year and so much has changed now after like you do the whole thing. But I'm pretty sure I knew from the gate that I wanted to have like programming with children involved. I knew pretty early on that I wanted to have something that kind of lended itself to like when I would like read like things about like Egyptians and the pyramids and like social studies in like middle school, I would like picture like what it would be like to like go through the chambers and like all that kind of stuff. So I knew early on like that I wanted to create something similar to that of like a space that you had to move through and kind of be presented to by the art itself and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And that's what you made. I remember you also wanted like the number 7 was really important to you.
Yeah.
And Afrofuturistic themes were really important to you.
Yeah. You just told us that people are still making mythologies today.
Facts.
But a big part of why I think we went this direction was because like Black people in America as they exist today don't have a mythology. So, me and Moiya are Black, if you couldn't tell. And we were like even just like the idea of like, hey, like you and me are Black. We're going to sit down and we're going to come up with some stuff and call it a mythology. That technically qualifies as a mythology. So like, I just thought that was really cool. And then the number 7, I have no idea. Like, like doing abstract stuff, I have a lot of like arbitrary decisions that I'm like, this has to be a thing. And I don't know where it comes from or why it's like that. I think a lot of times the significance is locking down on something and just like having that be the thing.
Yeah, agree completely. When I'm world building, I say that you have to add in some random elements that no one else would. And those are based on just like, what do you like? What do you want to be included? What would make this fun for you? I
think it helps me to like kind of ground something because a lot of times I'm just doing whatever and just letting whatever happen. But like, it's good to like stamp one thing down, especially with like creating and stuff, because you can take it a billion different directions. So it's like, well, why do we do this? Like for some of those things, we have to say like, because like, that's why it's like this. These are the rules. Work around that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And we did. So we took those elements that Sav really wanted. I really wanted whatever we did to be based on the physics of stars because I am a nerd and I want to secretly make other people nerds. And so we created a mythology of 7 different goddesses, each of them inspired by a different type of star or stellar remnant, and each talking about their experiences, like telling their own story that relates to eclipses. And so we have 7 goddesses, and I want to hear your impression of each of them, Sav, because you have spent more time with these goddesses than anyone.
Okay.
So we have first Iphigenia, who is our red dwarf goddess.
Yeah, so she's like the little sister to the rest of them. They're all sisters, and like I think of them like they like are constantly talking crap on each other. Like but like to everybody else, it's like wild. But she's the younger sister. She's like kind of in her own head, in her own world and stuff. She sees her big sisters doing other things around the universe, and she's just focused on her and stuff. One of the things she says is like her sisters just keep eating up
resources,
up all these resources, and she's like, well, like they're bigger anyway, so it makes sense and stuff. You know, just like taking little jabs and stuff. But she's like the little brat sister. How I see her.
Oh, I love that. I guess I never thought of her as the little sister, but she is small and she is younger than the others because she was born last. But I think of her as kind of like the old soul. Like when you meet a little kid and they act like a 50-year-old, like that's how I think of Iphigenia. Okay, great. What about Sol, the sun-like star?
Sol, we wrote Sol to be a little bougie because as a yellow star, like our star, she's the only one that's like confirmed to, you know, provide life and stuff like that. But actually, as I've like sat with the piece and stuff, she's actually presented herself as more like elegant and like not as snobby as I thought that we would have her come out and stuff. Your Moiya did all of the vocals for the goddesses and stuff, and so your performance with that one, I thought it was really nice. It was hard to think of her as like more snobby. I think of Sol as like elegant and clearly proud of what she does, but like she doesn't like shove it down your face or nothing like that. She's just like boss and CEO.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. The one word I would add to that I have associated with her is like nurturing.
Yeah.
To me, she seems, because she's the only one that we know has helped life thrive, she seems like the mother figure to me.
Yeah.
What about Altera, our blue giant star?
Altera is my favorite. She's like you can't put a dent in her like personality. She was one of the first stars to do what she's doing. She's been doing it. And I could be wrong or right. Is it because the blue giants are so big that they have a gravitational pull that other suns can like orbit around them?
They do have a lot of other stars around them, but it's mostly that they're so massive that they have really intense pressures and temperatures inside, so they burn through their fuel really quickly.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, like even like she talks about having like other suns eclipsing her and like how like she's not going to let that slight her, and like no puny star could ever dim our light. She's very like proud of what she does and like fierce, like just like unstoppable, ungovernable.
She is the confidence I wish I had. That's Altera. And then we have Linnea, our red giant star.
See, I think of Linnea as the wisdom one, and kind of with like that, like almost like it gets like melancholy a little bit, because in her story she talks about creatures that are like dying on her planet and stuff as like they're moving closer to the sun. But and it's kind of sad, but she says it with like such a reverence and a grace that you can kind of feel like the wisdom through her words. Yeah.
I wanted her to be really wise because she is the end stage of some type of stars. A red giant is what our sun is going to puff up into one day after it ends this phase of its life. And so I feel like they know a lot. They have experiences. What about Megan? Megan, our little white dwarf star.
That's Megan.
This is Megan.
That's Megan. We had a bunch of cool names, and then we got to white dwarf, and I was like Megan, but it's spelled Maygen, and who's it? It's connected to something. It still is connected to something, and the spelling of it.
Oh, I remember us just picking a very stereotypically white girl name.
No, for sure.
And then changing the spelling.
100%. But I think there was also like there's some mythos, something or whatever that we kind of like switch name around and stuff. But like she's bitter and she's small and she's just Megan, and she's, instead of putting her on like a full wall, she's on a little TV. I thought that was funny. Also like being the white dwarf star, visually like it's smaller and stuff. But yeah, it's Megan. She gets the short end of the stick, and it's
always
funny.
And
to create something that isn't real that I can just make fun of all the time. Like I'm really it's good to bully your art. It's nice.
Okay, well, do you want to bully Karo, our neutron star goddess?
I don't think you could bully her. She's fun. She's like she's just a ball of sunshine. Well, not even like just a ball of like party time. She's down to turn up,
like a disco ball.
Yeah, and like she's what is it, YOLO or whatever? Like she's here to do it for the night and stuff. Like she's gonna blow up tomorrow and she doesn't care. So she's like here to turn up, basically.
I love her. I would also like to be her. What about Harp? We have this is our final goddess, Harp, the black hole goddess.
This is the shady sister that doesn't talk to anybody, but she's like all up in your business. She knows all of your stuff. She knows what's going on with like your relationship and your kids. She's like telling all of her friends things about you, but like you don't talk to her ever. She is the shady sister. Like one of the things she says is, "Oops, did I say that out loud?" Like that's her personality. She's very that's Harp.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, she loves to collect secrets, just like black holes love to collect material and not let any of it out. So she likes to collect secrets and then only share them with the people she deems worthy. Or I like to think that she'll chaotically share secrets if she knows it will like lead to bad things. Yeah.
She seems like she collects secrets and then holds them over your head like for life though, like forever. She'll never drop the bomb, but you can feel it at Thanksgiving or something.
So we have Iphigenia, the little sister. We have Sol, the nurturing, elegant one. Altera, the really proud and confident one. Linnea, the wise. We have Megan, the salty white dwarf. Caro, the party animal. And Harp, the secret keeper. I have another game for you. I wrote out 3 different Mad Libs, and you get to give me the pieces to put into the Mad Lib, and then you'll have to guess which of the goddesses said these things. So first, I need a verb. Yeah, you want to give me a verb?
Jump.
Jump. Oh, that's going to be good. Okay. Next, I need a musician or band.
Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd is great. Very appropriate because of the whole no Dark Side of the Moon thing. Number 3, I need the name of a dance.
Macarena.
Yes. Number 4, I need a liquid. Any liquid.
Pepsi.
So good. And finally, number 5, a genre of music.
Ska.
Oh, this is going to be so fun. Okay. I jumped all night long. It was just that kind of party. My favorite Pink Floyd song was playing, and I couldn't help it. I got the whole room to join me in the Macarena. There was even a piñata. Oh, wait, no, I think I missed one here. Can I get a tiny little noun from someone, please?
Pizza.
Thank you. There was even a piñata, and the crowd went wild when all the pizzas fell out. But then we just danced among them, and I only left because someone made me spill my glass of Pepsi all over my dress. But I'll be back because next week is ska night, my favorite. Which of our stellar goddesses do we think said this? Caro. Yeah, the party animal. Good job. Oh, I love her so much, and I'm glad she got to jump all night long listening to Pink Floyd. All right, next, I need a number. Any number.
7.
Oh, my. Oh, wow. Okay, great. Food. Any type of food.
Burgers.
Yes. Big, juicy burgers. I need a periodic element, something from the periodic table.
Polonium.
Yes. Unfamiliar elements. Is that your favorite element? One of your favorite? Yeah, good. For number 4, I need a flavor of something.
Anise.
Good. Get your little star seeds out. And another verb, please. Ask. All right, let's see what type of story we just made here. Oh no, one of my star babies is sick with a temperature of 7 degrees. I'll whip up some comforting burgers and take them to her. But first I have to go buy my secret healing ingredient, liquid polonium. It mixes right into the food and adds a yummy anise taste. My baby will be up and asking questions again in no time. Oh, 7 degrees would be a very low temperature for a star. No matter what scale you're using, 7 degrees is too cold. Who said this? Linnea, we think? Maybe. I hear someone for Sol. Yeah, we got group consensus. It's Sol. This is the nurturing, life-giving, elegant soul who just wants to take care of all of her star babies. And we have one last goddess Mad Lib for you. I need an adjective, please.
What's an adjective?
An adjective describes something like cold or big or dark or slimy.
Giant.
Giant. Very appropriate for all of these stars. And next, I need an animal.
Platypus.
Platypus is good. Okay, I just remembered why I needed these things. For the third thing, I need any type of event, like a wedding or a prom, a solar eclipse. Yeah, an eclipse party. Let's do that. Yay, because that's why we're here. I need a unit of time, like a month, a second, an eon. An eon. And number 5, I need an emotion, please. Rage. Yes. You were quite fast with that. Rage was on the tip of your tongue. I wonder why. Okay, we have our final Mad Lib story. I'm bored of my sister's secrets, so I will turn my attention to gianter creatures. The platypus, for instance. They don't want anyone to know this, but they plan an eclipse party every eon where the most enraged platypus is appointed their leader until the next eclipse party. And that is a true story that none of my sisters will ever know. Harp said this. Yeah, the secret-loving Harp for sure learned about those weird platypuses planning eclipse parties every eon. They're missing a lot of eclipses if they're only planning one every eon. You all know the goddesses so well, so hopefully as you're going through the exhibit, you'll now have more familiarity with them. And let's give a little round of applause for Alex, because he's a great artist, and I can tell you, was an amazing collaborator to work with. For all of you, I hope you come back here for the eclipse on Monday. We're going to be doing a viewing party. There will be trivia. There will be music. There will be eclipse glasses. And I hear that if you take eclipse glasses to Wendy's, then you get a free Frosty. So come here, get your eclipse glasses, watch the eclipse, answer some trivia questions, and watch this amazing astronomical phenomenon happen right above your heads. Although we might get clouded out. In that case, we'll get to see it like a phantom eclipse, which will still be cool. We'll still see it get pretty dark. So we should be mentally prepared for that situation in case we don't get to see the full, amazing total solar eclipse. But either way, it's going to get really dark. It's going to look like it's dusk out. The temperature is going to drop by about 5 degrees. The animals that come out in the dusk, they're going to come out. So if there are fireflies out there right now, if there are mosquitoes, if there are little foxes out there. I don't know the local flora and fauna as well as I should. But any of the crepuscular animals who like to come out at dusk time, they will come out during the eclipse. It's going to be really cool. Please wear your glasses. Except for actual totality. Once the sun is completely covered, that's when you can take your glasses off. That's what you can expect. It's going to be a really great time. And I think we have some time for questions. Thank you so much, first of all. Would one of you mind running the mic for questions? Yes, ask me all your space questions, your myth questions, whatever you got.
This has to do with the Greek guy,
Hipparchus?
Hipparchus. Mm-hmm. And you were talking about how even back then they were aware of eclipses.
Yes.
And you even described, I think they back then, or at some point, it was only 4/5 of the sun was covered by the moon.
Right, yeah. So outside the path of totality, they saw. Yeah.
So my question is, I'm guessing they didn't have solar glasses to look at this with.
Yeah.
So how did they manage to observe this without burning their eyeballs out? And did they do like the little pinhole in a box, or how did they do this?
That's a really great question, because they would have known that looking at the sun would cause damage to your eyes. And so they likely would have only studied the eclipse during totality. But there were also a lot of people who looked at the sun without proper protection, or they would try to look at the sun when it was low on the horizon, so there was a lot of atmosphere between the sun and their eyes, and they would still get damaged, but they would look for only like a little bit at a time. But yeah, I think a lot of people got their eyes damaged, or some of them may have known how to look at the reflection of the sun instead of looking directly at it. That's what Galileo did, but Galileo didn't know how to do that right away. So I think there's always a learning curve here.
On the slide that showed the path of totality, just to the northeast of Maine, there was a wobble in that path.
Oh, yeah, the curtain is wobbly. Yeah, that's the curtain. But very astute observation. Yeah. The path of totality does not wobble. Do we have any other questions? Yeah, one in the front.
What's your favorite mythological story about eclipses? Or the sun and the moon?
My favorite mythological story about eclipses, I think the Hindu myth is pretty fun. There's a demon named Rahu, or at least his head is named Rahu after this happens. But this demon tries to steal an elixir of immortality and is like kind of successful. Well, actually is successful. Manages to steal an elixir of immortality and swallow a couple of drops. And the gods are mad that this demon has been able to steal immortality, so they cut off his head. But because he's just taken the elixir, he doesn't die from this decapitation. Instead, his head just gets like flung up into the air, and when things line up, this demon head can eat the sun. And so they say that that's what causes the eclipse, is Rahu the demon eating the sun. And then the eclipse always ends because Rahu doesn't have a body, so the sun just passes out of his neck. Which is great because there are plenty of other myths where the sun is being eaten during an eclipse. In Norse mythology, it's a wolf. In Vietnamese mythology, it's a toad. In Chinese mythology, it's this big dragon. But usually those beings then have to spit the sun back up. The toad has a master who's like, that's bad, toad, spit up the sun. And it does. But the demon head, Rahu, just has to keep passing through the sky, which I think is fun. Thanks. Any other questions? I know we're past the time, but yeah, go ahead.
So I noticed that you and the artist know a lot about this mythology, and several of the people in the audience. Is there one book you can read to get that all in one volume?
Oh, one book to read about all of the specifically eclipse myths?
Yeah, for example, yeah.
Not that I know of. I've been researching this in like a piecemeal fashion. Usually you would find a book about Egyptian mythology and a book about Greek mythology, and you'd have to go to this like one page in that book that talks about their eclipse myths. And that's how I've done it.
And you did that specifically for this show?
I've been teaching classes and lectures about the eclipse for like the last 6 months. But yeah, leading up to the eclipse, I really did brush up on a lot of my international eclipse myths.
And can I ask these two folks in the audience there were several that were pretty vocal about the different mythologies. How do they know this? Past lives. I love it. Okay, thank you. That's good enough.
I host a mythology show on PBS Digital Studios called Fate and Fabled, where we've covered we've had a couple of episodes where we talk about space myths. So that might be a okay place to start. Yeah. We have another question, I think. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So we know when eclipses are happening in advance. Do we know when the next eclipse is going to be happening in North America?
Yes, we do. So eclipses happen every 1.5 years all over the place. The next eclipse won't pass over North America until 2044. And that one's going to be mostly in the Northeast. It will pass a little bit over like Oregon or something. But not as many people in the U.S. will live in the path of totality in 2044. The next total solar eclipse in the world will happen in like 2026, and it's going to pass over Greenland and most of the Atlantic Ocean, and then might go into like Europe a little bit. So if you're in the U.S., now is the time to see the eclipse. Okay. Thank you all so much. You've been a great audience. You made some excellent Mad Libs, and I hope you enjoy the eclipse. Yay. Corinne, I think I know the answer to this because you seemed really excited about this first eclipse of yours, but would you like to see another one?
Oh, yeah. I'm ready to be an eclipse chaser.
Yes.
Yeah, at the dinner we ended up staying in town for. We were like, okay, when are we going to the next one? Where are we going? We're going to Spain. Sure. We're going to Australia. We're going to Greenland. We'll go anywhere now. And, the further you are from that experience, I think the less you're like, yeah, let me pack up my life and do a very expensive, difficult trip.
So expensive.
But I need to remember the Corinne in that moment who was like, I need to feel this again. I'm chasing a high.
And now you know that a partial eclipse ain't shit.
I know.
So you have
now
to see
I'm
the
like,
total one.
Somebody came up to me, because I did say at work that I teared up. And then someone came up to me and was like, I saw like 89% and I didn't like tear up at all. And I was like, yeah, because you didn't see anything because the sun was out. It was normal.
Yes. Any type of eclipse is a really special event, but you cannot if you've only seen a partial eclipse, you can't imagine the difference between that and a total. A 99% partial eclipse is still 1,000 times brighter than a total solar eclipse.
Yes. And I think that a friend of mine was quoting like something she'd read years ago for like the 2017 eclipse that was like, the difference is like talking to someone and then like fully sleeping with somebody. It's like, yeah, it is completely different. It's like nice to talk to people or to like flirt with someone. It's completely different.
I was not ready for that analogy.
It just feels like these are not the same thing. It is like in the universe of the same activity of like dating. But yeah.
Yeah. That's the perfect comparison. The next total solar eclipse is going to be in like 2026. It's going to pass over Greenland. I am really interested in going to the 2027 total solar eclipse over Luxor in Egypt. Like, can you imagine seeing a total solar eclipse, but like you're next to a pyramid?
It's very cool.
That would be sick. And so I talked to Emily Rice, who is one of the founders of Startorialist. We're going to be doing an interview with her in a few weeks, so look out. But I was talking to her, and she also runs Astronomy on Tap, where she's like involved with Astronomy on Tap.
Yes.
And we were like, what if we do an Astronomy on Tap at the Egypt eclipse in 2027?
You have to.
I think I have to.
That would be really fun.
So I'm going to.
And so she did.
So, nevertheless, she did. So that's where you can catch me in August of 2027.
I'll be busy.
I'll be busy. It'll be around your birthday, Corinne.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I'm in too. Maybe we're all going.
Oh, just a little pale blue pod trip to Egypt. Why not? Yeah, eclipses are great. I want to see as many as I can without going bankrupt.
Same.
That's my plan for the rest of my life.
I love it. Well, listeners, wherever you are, I hope you see the next eclipse. And I hope you remember that you are space.
Yeah, you are. A really cute, adorable part of space. Pale Blue Pod was created by Moiya McTier and Corinne Caputo with help from the Multitude Productions team. Our theme music is by Evan Johnston, and our cover art is by Shay McMullen. Our audio editing is handled by the incomparable Misha Stanton.
Stay in touch with us and the universe by following @PaleBluePod on Twitter and Instagram, or check out our website, palebluepod.com. We're a member of Multitude, an independent podcast collective and production studio. If you like Pale Blue Pod, you will love the other shows that live on our website at multitude.productions.
If you want to support Pale Blue Pod financially, join our community over at patreon.com/palebluepod. For just about $1 per episode, you get a shout out on one of our shows and access to director's commentary for each episode. The very best way, though, to help Pale Blue Pod grow is to share it with your friends. So send this link to one person who you think will like it, and we will appreciate you for forever.
Thanks for listening to Pale Blue Pod. You'll hear us again next week.
Bye.